Hey there, I've got a question for you. Did you know that disagreements in a relationship is a natural thing? I know, I know. It's natural, it's normal. Guess what? If you have disagreements, you're normal. But today we are going to talk about some rules that you can kind of abide by. I know there's rules too to help you communicate in a more effective manner, in a much better way. Hey, I'm Heather from Love How Deep.
And I'm Brian, and thanks so much for joining us. Hey, remember, before we get into this episode, make sure that you like, follow, subscribe wherever you are hearing or listening to this. It will definitely help you get all the great content immediately, help follow what we do, and it would really help us out too. So,
That's
yeah,
right.
I'm really excited because I don't think you and we don't really argue much, do we? No, actually,
Don't listen
we
to
do.
that. Do not listen to that. We are all normal. So this happens to the best of us and the worst of us and everything in between. But everything that we do, we want to base it on the word of God. And so in Ephesians, it says, Ephesians 4:29 says, "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen." So that's
Yeah.
what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, that's good. And I think when people argue and disagree, a lot of times we are getting into that mode of kind of tearing down. I mean, maybe we don't
Yeah.
purposefully want to do that,
Right.
but a lot of times I think that's what ends up happening. And so I love when we can just follow the word of God and how it talks about, encouraging and building up. I mean, that's the whole point of this.
Right.
So, right.
Right.
Yeah. And we've got one little caveat I think we want to talk about before we start giving
Yes.
you some helpful tips here.
Yes. Yeah. First and foremost, it's all about safety, whether it's physical or emotional abuse
Yeah.
that could potentially be happening or possibly be happening in your relationship. We need you to be safe. And I want you to hear our hearts on this. That is the most important thing. You can't solve problems if you're being abused in some way. And so, whatever that looks like for you, you've got to, I mean, I hate to say you've got to get out, but you've got to get out. You've got to get to safety. You've got to get somebody to help you figure out your next steps and what that looks like. So, safety first.
Yeah, no doubt. I couldn't have said it better myself. So, and with that, if that's not happening for you, then let's jump into the first one. So, speaking with respect. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. I think that's a really important one.
Right.
And a lot of times we can treat, the person at the grocery store that's bagging our groceries, I think, sometimes a little bit better than we do our spouse. And so we just have to be
That can
conscious
happen.
of that. And for me, that really involves just staying fully present in what's happening here. It's like just remembering, hey, I'm speaking to the person that I love most in the world. And,
That's true.
so just kind of keeping that in mind. So,
Right. And
yeah.
I think you want to make sure that you are attacking the problem, not the
Mm-hmm.
person. That goes hand in hand with that
Mm-hmm.
respect as you're attacking that problem and figuring out what to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else you got?
Sticking to the issue. It is human nature. A lot of these things, it's all human nature. Okay. We've got to unlearn some bad habits. One of those is sticking to the issue. We want to bring in the whole laundry list, throw in everything of what all the problems are, the things that make me so angry and frustrated with you, Brian. I'm going to throw them all into this one little problem that we have right here and drag it all in. And then it just, everything spirals. And so you really want to focus on that and make sure that you're not doing that, that you're sticking to whatever that one issue is. Solve that problem, figure that out, have that conversation about that
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Yeah. And I think it is human nature that, if we feel like we're losing the argument, we'll sometimes, for example, like if you are upset with how I did the laundry and you come and tell me, then I might in my subconscious feel like, oh no, I'm losing this. I don't want to seem like the bad guy. So let me say, you know what? I didn't like the way you did the dishes last night. And so, you know what? You're a little bit more of the bad guy now, right?
Right.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, the reason that I'm saying that is because she's gonna say, oh, you know what? You're exactly right. That's right. You did what you did fine, and what I
You do it
did,
so
well,
well.
yeah, right. But that's not what happens. You will either defend yourself back, or you might throw in another thing. Or remember, you didn't mow the grass the other night like you said you would. So,
I think at the end
Yeah.
of the day, none of the problems end up being solved. So
Yeah. Right.
stick to that one issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. Next is you want to own your own feelings. And kind of maybe this is a pretty basic thing to say, but I think sticking to I statements, we talk about it all the time, but,
Right.
explaining how I feel is very important. I feel hurt when you said what you did last night at the dinner table or whatever, rather than, saying, you made me mad the other night. Well, nobody really makes me mad. It's
Right.
already within me. So again, just kind of owning my own feelings. I don't know what else to
Right.
say about that one, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's what we have to do.
Yep.
Yeah. Because if you're not and you're saying the other person's making you mad, again, you are attacking the person. And so that's what we want to kind of stop doing.
Yeah.
And another part of this is listening actively. We talk about that on this podcast a lot. So maybe repeating what you think you heard the other person say uh, and clarifying anything that you're not understanding. But it lets the other person know that you are listening. So that, because the other thing that we do, human nature, is to start thinking of our own rebuttal. What are we going to say in response to the other person? So while you're saying whatever it is that you want to say, I'm not listening because I'm thinking of what I want to say back to you. So
Right.
we have to unlearn that and learn how to listen actively.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to actually say, so Heather, what I hear you saying is that you are saying we need to listen actively. We need to pay attention to what the other person is saying before we decide to respond and say what we want to say. Is that what I hear you saying, Heather?
That's absolutely correct. And,
Okay.
when you do that, I think you're giving respect to the other person, and you're showing them I am listening and I do care. And I think that can just go such a long way.
Yeah. The next one I want to talk about is keeping your voice calm. And I come from a childhood where there was some arguing, there's some yelling, divorced household. As you can imagine, there were a lot of disagreements about things, and so that's kind of what I picked up on when I was growing up. Is that what? In order to be heard, you got to raise your voice.
Just keep getting louder.
And I notice when I do that with you, it doesn't go very well. It's not
No,
something that you know take a liking to. I notice when I do it with you, you have a tendency to shut
I
down.
shut
Whereas
down.
what I'm looking for in my mind is like, oh, let's amp this up. Hopefully,
And then I'll
as
agree with
I
you.
keep
You're
going,
right.
right? Yeah,
That's what we
and
do.
yeah, that's right. And so I think too, just knowing that that's a problem, keeping your voice calm and trying to keep that tone kind of even, because you're not wanting to inflame your partner. So yeah.
Yep, I think that's all very good. The next tip that we want to say is just avoid the blame game. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We want to blame the other person and figure out whose fault is it, who did it wrong. Guess what? It's his side, her side, and the truth. And we all are to blame in some way. If there is some kind of disagreement, we can all own up to something. We want you to stop the blame game and realize, yeah, okay, this has happened. We're going to draw that line in the sand and we're going to move forward. We're going to solve this problem now. Okay. We're going to work on this, finding the solution together and to stop that evil, horrible spiral of laying blame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you want to lay blame, maybe you could say, we both are struggling right now and we both need to be careful. I mean, sometimes that can backfire too, but I think that, you're kind of using we instead of I in those types of areas. So with that, I'm going to also talk about, this one's a fun one, but it's kind of funny, but try not to use you always or you never. I mean, maybe there is something that you do or that I do that we have this tendency. We all have tendencies. We all have things that we do. But the problem is when you say that to the one that you love, you never, you're kind of straying away from the issue and you're sort of getting into the personality. Well, this is just the way you are, and you're always talking over me when we get into an argument. And again, maybe that's somewhat true, but saying that usually doesn't get the response that you're looking for. It's usually never oh, you know what, honey, you're right.
Right.
You're
I
right.
do always
I
do that.
always do that. Like I think whenever I've said that to you, I don't think I've ever gotten that response back, which that's
No,
the response I'm
no.
looking for, right?
But that's not how it happens.
You're right.
No. So
Right.
steering clear of those kind of phrases and those
Hmm.
absolutes.
Yep. That's right.
Yep. You want to make sure in a disagreement that you stay engaged in the conversation, that you don't shut down that communication. Like Brian, you mentioned a few minutes ago that like if you start raising your voice, yelling at me, what am I going to do? I'm shutting down, and I will refuse to talk. I'm just like done. If this is how it's going to be, now you'll
Hmm.
probably like you're like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? They fight all the time. No, we don't. But we are being very real with you and letting you know that sometimes we don't follow these rules. You know, we work all the time to stick to them. But
Yeah.
that shutting down the communication is it's not good. Like there are other things, you know, Brian, you're going to mention the next one that you can do that
Hmm.
doesn't necessarily shut the communication down. There's a more effective way if you need to take a break. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, make sure you stay engaged in this conversation.
Hmm. Yeah. And with that, again, the next
Yeah.
one is taking a break when
Yes.
you need it. And there's probably some rules with taking a break, just there, like there would be with some of these others. But, it's, and I can struggle with this one. You get so frustrated and you just kind of throw your hands up in the air and you just walk away. That's not in the scope of really what we're talking about.
Right.
Taking a break is to actually gently, calmly say, hey, I'm struggling or we're struggling here. This is not going anywhere. Can we put this aside for just a minute? And maybe it is that you do need to walk away. I mean, that's
Right.
okay,
Yeah, that's
but
absolutely okay.
yeah,
I think
but just
sometimes,
stating
oh,
it.
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think sometimes we just need to process like what is happening? What am I thinking? What am I feeling right now? Where did this just we like the train just fell off the tracks. I
Hmm.
don't even know. I just know that I need a break.
Hmm.
And I think like well, I don't think. I know it is okay to say, "Hey, can we just take a break for like 30 minutes and let's come back together." Take
Yeah.
that break, go for a walk, listen to some music, just go take a nap if you need to, go
Hmm.
journal, do something, just
Hmm.
breathe and take a
Yeah.
breath. Let that blood pressure come down, let
Hmm.
that blood stop boiling.
Hmm.
It's totally okay to do that.
Yeah, and with that one too, I would almost like to say, you can tell me if you agree or disagree. If you're the one sort of calling the time out or walking away, you need to be the one to come back and say,
Yes.
"Okay, I'm ready."
Let's talk some more.
Yeah, it would also be nice if you said, "Hey, give me, 15 minutes, 30 minutes," like you just
Put a
said, I
little
think.
time frame on it.
And then
Yeah.
to be the one to come back because we've had so many couples that we've worked with over the years where um, like the withdrawer, so to speak, the one that always tends to walk away is the one that never wants to come back and talk about the issue or the problem. And I would say, you be the one to come back and say, hey, I'm sorry. I know I needed to
Right.
walk away from that. Can we talk now? I
Right.
think I'm ready to talk.
Right.
Because if you don't do that, then the person on the other end is kind of like, okay, I don't know. Do we need to address this? Where are we with this? If
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that brings it up, then I'm becoming that nag or whatever. And,
Right.
you don't want to be like that
Right.
either. So, yeah.
Right.
So,
I think that's good. I think also you want to reflect before reacting. Reflect on maybe why you're truly upset and really think about how it's making you feel and why that is. Just understanding your emotions and your heart and mind in all of this is very
hmm.
important.
Yep. That's a good one.
Hmm.
And then I'd say we could probably put a nice little bow on this, but remembering the goal, you know,
Absolutely.
just, and again, sometimes this takes you mentally having to step away from what's going on for just a second about the issue that you're having and realize, hey, I'm in a relationship with this person again that God has brought me. This is a gift that this person is sitting here in front of me, willing to engage with me on an issue, a
Hmm.
situation, whatever it might be. And sometimes if you can think like that, it will actually bring calm. It will bring you down a little bit.
Right.
Um, but then I think too, just remembering, well, what are our goals here? Like, say for example, we start arguing about taking a vacation. Well, we both want to do the thing. We want to go on the vacation. So we both are wanting to get to that place that we're looking to get to. So let's figure it out instead of arguing about it, you
Right.
know?
Right.
Yeah. So,
Right. And uh, I think it's important to remember that, because these disagreements are natural and they're going to happen, they can make you stronger. When you handle these
hmm
things correctly, and implement some of these tools that we're talking about today, it can make you stronger because you've solved a problem together, right? And then the next time a problem comes along, maybe you've developed some new habits that we've kind of mentioned today, and you can solve that problem. And before you know it, it's like you go from one to another, and you're getting stronger. And it's like you're on the mountaintop, and you can, and it would be great to stay at a mountaintop experience, but you can't have all these mountains without those valleys. And those disagreements, those are your valleys. But you climb back up on that mountain, and you're going to have another mountaintop experience. And that's, ultimately that's what we want for you. That is an end goal for you too, to strengthen your marriage, to, yeah, to communicate effectively.
yeah. And you and I, we're not perfect. I think we don't we don't disagree. We're not in conflict a ton, and we don't. But I think when it happens, sometimes we can forget about these sort of rules, so to speak. So I'm really hoping that as you and I do this episode and share these things, that it will start to we'll start to remember these things a little bit better too,
Yeah.
as we're
Yeah.
yeah
I think we are not where we were before, but we're not where we want to be. So it's always a process, no matter
yeah
where you are in the
that's right
trajectory of your marriage, and just how you handle disagreements and that sort of thing.
yeah
We want you to, um, as you listen to this episode, maybe listen to it together, jot down some of these tips that we've given, and then, have a chat with each other about maybe what can you do better? Pick one. Like, you can't possibly, I think we listed 10 or 12 of these. That's a lot.
yeah that's a
Pick
good point.
one that you're like, I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on that. I know that I do that, and I know it's wrong, and I know it hurts you, but I can fix that. I can
hmm
change that, and I think with the Lord's help, yeah, you can change that.
hmm Yeah, I like that. I like picking just one
Yeah.
because it can get overwhelming and it can almost feel robotic if you're trying to remember all of these things. But maybe it's that one thing that you do that gets the arguments really off the rails that you want to focus on. So
Yeah.
yeah. And I would
That's
say
good.
too, we would encourage you as we start to wrap this episode up to sit down and have a conversation with each other, about these things. So yeah, just like Heather said. So and with that, we are going to wrap up. And thank you so much for joining us. And I want to actually mention one thing. It's called the 10 Practical Steps for Communication. It's a free resource and a guide that can be very helpful to you and your spouse. We're going to put a link to it in the show notes. Wherever you're seeing or hearing this episode, you can pick up that free copy and start to work on some of these things. So I think with that, that's about everything we've got for today,
Yep.
right?
Yep. That's
All
it.
right. So we will see you next time. Take care until then.